Hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. I'm Patric Paumen. Let's start. I'm Patric Paumen. I'm a founder of hackerspace Xspace, which is in Heerlen in the Netherlands. Let's talk about locks, keys. They're a very old technology. This is the oldest known lock. It's from, I think it was found in Egypt, a couple thousand years old. And there are some problems, some disadvantages with locks and keys, because, keys can be forgotten, lost, or stolen. And in this picture, you can see a Dutch police officer at a Dutch hacker conference. This photo was taken. And based on the photo of the handcuff key, a 3D model was made just based on the photo of the handcuff key. And after making a 3D model, it was 3D printed. And it was possible to unlock the handcuffs with the 3D printed key. So yeah, locks and keys aren't very secure. There's also problems with biometrics, with fingerprints or iris, because you only have 10 fingers. You can't easily change your fingerprint if your fingerprints are compromised, because everything we touch, we leave our fingerprints. So a possible solution to this is biohacking. A little history about biohacking. So in 1998, Kevin Warwick, a professor at the university, he was the first human with an RFID tag implant. And in 2004, there was a beach club in Barcelona and also in Rotterdam who offered RFID tag implants to their VIP members, so to easily enter the beach club and to pay for their drinks. In 2005, Amal Graafstra, he was the first with 2 RFID tags, which he uses to unlock the doors at home and the car doors and his office. In 2010, I attended a conference in Berlin, Germany. There was a talk by Left Anonym, who gave a talk called Cybernetics for the Masses. And this talk inspired me to start biohacking. And so in July 2011, I ordered a stack of magnets from the internet. And I ordered Sugru. And the Sugru is used as a coating for the magnet to make sure that it's bioproof, so the body doesn't reject it. And so first I went to a piercing studio, a piercing tattoo studio in my city, where I had my first tattoo done. And I asked them if they would implant this magnet with Sugru coating, if they would implant it in my fingertip, where it belongs. I'll explain later. And they just basically said they wouldn't do it without providing a reason why. They just wouldn't do it. Maybe because it wasn't their product, but I don't know. So I decided to do it myself at home. I used a pocket knife to make an incision and put it in my hand. At first I attempted to put it in my fingertip, but I did the procedure wrong. I held my finger in a bath of ice water to numb it. But then I took the finger out of the bath of ice water and tried to make an incision with the pocket knife, because I didn't have a scalpel, I didn't have a hollow piercer's needle. So after a while, the numbness wore off, so I put it in the back of my hand instead. And it healed on time for the Chaos Communication Camp, which was held in August 2011. And we were making these towies, which is basically a magnet with a battery and a LED with tape wrapped around it. So you could throw it, for example, at a fridge or a bridge or something. And I figured I can attach it to this magnet in the back of my hand, and I can use it because it gets dark at night at the outdoor hacker conference. I can use it as a flashlight and with both hands available. In 2013, Amal Grafstar, he launched a company, and he manufactures and sells implants and kits online. So here's an overview of non-medical implants. And this is an X-ray photo of my hands, my arms. Yeah, currently I have 14 implants. I have 5 magnet implants and 9 RFID tag implants. So the magnet implants, they are usually implanted in the fingertips because the fingertips are very sensitive. They're very rich with nerve endings. And when you have a magnet in your fingertip and the magnet gets near a magnetic field or an electromagnetic field, then the magnet reacts to those fields and it sets off the nerves. So if I move my fingertip to a strong magnet, I can feel how the magnet is moving. I'll show it on a camera later. And when it's near an electromagnetic field, then the magnet in the fingertip oscillates and it feels like a tingling in the fingertip. So this provides an additional sense. And it's also possible to lift objects like bottle caps or screws or other small objects. It can be useful while working. It's nice for party tricks, but it can also be useful. Another use case. A lot of laptops, they have a magnet in the lid of the skin. So if you close the laptop, then the laptop detects that the lid is closed. So the laptop goes in standby. For example, Apple MacBook laptops have a magnet in the lid of the skin and also a sensor near the tab key or the enter key. So if I want more privacy and not people watching over my shoulder, I just move my magnet implant near the sensor and the screen goes dark because the laptop goes in standby. Yeah, these magnetic and electromagnetic fields, they're invisible. But yeah, this way I can detect them and for example, potential use case, I have a desk lamp at home, and at some point the lamp wouldn't light up anymore, and I to check whether I only had to replace the light bulb or if also the electronics are damaged. I switch the light on, nothing happens, but I move my magnet implants near the base of the lamp, and I could feel the electromagnetic field from the transformers from the lamp. So I knew I just had to replace the light bulb. This is Rich Lee from from America. He also has magnet implants, but he has them in the tragus, which is the flesh in front of the ear. And when he wears a copper coil around his neck, and the coil is connected to a small portable amplifier, and the amplifier is connected to an audio source like a MP3 player or a smartphone. When he's playing music, he can wirelessly listen to music, and yeah, because the magnets are implanted, you don't see any headphones. This is on the left. You see the arm of Tim Cannon, and they developed the circadian implant, and this implant, it was collecting body data, for example, body temperature and heart rate, and this implant also had a battery, and it would be charged through induction. At some point, I believe after 3 or 4 months, the battery wouldn't charge anymore. So they removed the implant, and then they noticed that the battery was bulging, so they took the implant out on time. So luckily. Yeah, when you're a biohacking pioneer, then there are some risks involved. This is Rob Spence. He's a filmmaker, and at a young age he lost his one of his eyes, and sometimes he wears a prosthetic eye with a red LED, and sometimes he wears a prosthetic eye with a wireless video camera. He's a filmmaker, and he also used it in a film project. This is Neil Hobson. He's colorblind from birth, and he has an implant in his skull. With it looks like an antenna in front of his face. There's a camera, which of course can see color, and the implant transforms the color frequency to an audio frequency. And this way he can hear the color. And he uses it to draw paintings. This is a Firefly implant, it's called. It glows in the dark. It emits a small amount of radiation. And it has some a special coating to reduce the radiation. But apparently, it's very bright in darkness. The North Sense by Cyborg Nest. In my opinion, it's not an implant, but because it's worn. It attaches to piercings, bar piercings, usually worn on the chest. And what this device does, if you face north, then it vibrates, so you know which direction is north. This is the Nostar implant. Manufactured by Grindhouse Wetware, and this implant, again, it has a battery. Well, this one has a small coin battery, CR2025, I believe, and it has a sensor that when you hold a magnet, could be a magnet implant or another strong magnet. When you hold it near the implant, then it lights up the 5 red LEDs. It lights up for 10 seconds, and then they turn off again to mimic bioluminescence, like some animals have. And yeah, potential purpose could be to light up a tattoo, for example. They're currently working on a new version, and the new version will have gesture recognition and Bluetooth. So, for example, if you do a gesture like this, and then a Uber taxi will arrive. But it's still in development. This is what's her name? Mundo Heba. She's the partner of Neil Hobson, and she also has a magnet implant, but in the elbow. And when she wears a device, and this device is it connects online to seismographs. So when there's seismic activity, when there's an earthquake anywhere in the world above 1 Richter, then the device, well, the implant triggers, and then she knows that there's an earthquake anywhere in the world, and she uses this in her choreography, in her performance on stage. So these are RFID tag implants. Currently I have 9, because there are different frequencies in the RFID spectrum, radio frequency identification. And there are also different protocols. The XBT tag implant, it's basically a pet ID tag meant for horses or other large animals to easily detect, to easily read the body temperature. And I also have one here in my lower arm. And so when this implant is read by RFID reader, that's usually used by a vet or at an animal shelter, then it reads the tag and it shows the unique ID number and the temperature. And well, it's in my lower arm, but a better position would be in the skin beneath the armpit, because the further you get from the core of the body, the lower the temperature gets. And I figured, well, since this is a pet ID tag, there are also databases for pets online. So if your pet gets lost or stolen, then when an animal is found and is taken to animal shelter, then the pet ID tag gets read, and they can look up in the database to find out who the owner of the pet is, because animals can't talk, of course. So I also registered myself at an animal database, and when you look up the information, it mentions name of the animal, Patric, and animal species, primate, race, cyborg. I had to pick from a list of animal species like dog, cat, and so on. So I picked primate. And the XEM tag implant, I have 2 of these. I have one here in my right arm, and I also have one here in my left arm. And the reason is you have different manufacturers of RFID access controllers, and different manufacturers use different protocols. So I use one to unlock the car doors of my car, so I don't have to worry about forgetting or losing my car keys. And the other one I use to unlock the road barriers to gain access to the parking lot at the office. And this is the XIC tag implant. I don't have this one. Well, I do have it here, but I don't have it implanted yet because I don't have a purpose for it yet. So, the XM1 Plus implant, that's the newest implant that I have. It was implanted a couple months ago. Basically, this is a MIFA Classic card, MIFA Classic chip, and what's nice about this implant is that it also has the Chinese magic backdoor feature, which lets you change the unique ID number of the tag. Normally, when you have an RFID access card or tag, then you can't change the UID number. This tag implant it lets you change the number, which is, in my opinion, is very useful because at the building where our hackerspace is, we use those MIFA Classic access cards, and I went to the reception desk and asked them if they could add my implant to their access control system, so I don't have to worry about forgetting the access card, and they couldn't do it. So I took the access card. I used the Proxmark 3 device to clone the access card to the implant, and it also changed the UID number, so I can just scan my implant and unlock the doors. The Exante tag implant. This is the first RFID tag implant that I have. I've got one here, and it's NFC compatible, so it works with smartphones and other devices. I use it to unlock my smartphone. I use it to share contact details because it has some data storage. So I put my contact details on it. I also use it at home to unlock the front door and the apartment door with an electronic cylindrical lock. And you can always lock and unlock it from the outside, from the inside of the apartment or door. From the outside, when it's mounted in the door, then nothing happens when you turn it. And if you activate the reader and then scan an implant, then you can lock and unlock it. I also use this to log into my laptop without having to worry about someone watching over my shoulder and stealing my password. So if I lock my laptop, and yeah, so when I scan my implant, then it unlocks my laptop. Small hobby project. The Flex anti-tag implant has the same NFC chip as the Exante, but the difference is the Exante, it's the size of a grain of rice, so it's small and in a biosafe glass coating capsule. And here you can see the size and the shape of the antenna of the coil, and so this gives a better reading because most RFID readers, they have also this flat and rectangular shaped coil, and sometimes with an implant you have to sometimes you have to find a sweet spot to read the tag, and yeah, this one gives a better reading distance because the coil inside the tag and the coil inside the reader, they match, so there's a better magnetic coupling between those two devices. This is the Flex DF implant. It's my fair Dasfire chip. So this one also can be used for, well, it supports cryptography, which, yeah, nowadays some office buildings use for access control with authentication. This implant, VivoKey, I have a prototype here in my lower arm. And yeah, this is a prototype, so it's larger than the final product. And basically, this is a smart card. It's basically a Java card, so it runs Java applets. And I use it to generate OTP codes mostly for two-factor authentication. I'm also working on another project where when I generate an OTP code, I type it on a keypad and it unlocks something. It could be used for example, an alarm system to protect your home instead of always entering the same code. Depending on the keypad, after a while, the keys get worn off, so a burglar would see which digits are used for the code. But if it's an OTP code, it's only valid for 30 seconds, so this improves security. And I also use it for PGP, for pretty good privacy, for to generate, to encrypt and decrypt data, add a digital signature to my emails. And well, since this is an advanced chip, it's the same type of chip as in bank cards or credit cards. So a potential application would also be for contactless payments. But then financial organizations like banks or credit card providers, they also need to get on board to make this possible. And there are some tests performed on these type of implants, on the RFID tag implants, for example. That was vacuum tested to make sure it's safe. Common question, what if you have to go in an MRI? All these RFID tag implants, they've been tested in an MRI up to 7 Tesla and nothing happened. Methods of inserting these implants. The implants the size of a grain of rice. They're usually inserted with an injection syringe, and you need. Don't worry, I'm not going to do this on stage now, so you don't have to faint. You need 2 hands for the procedure. It's usually done at a piercing studio. The first one I did myself at home, the Exante tag implant. And since you need 2 hands, I used a clothes peg to keep the skin lifted. But yeah, you need 2 hands, 1 hand to keep the skin lifted, and then the other hand to inject the implant, inject the syringe, and then when you retract the syringe from the skin, then the implant remains under the skin. And larger implants, of course, is you need a scalpel and usually a local anesthetic because it can hurt. Implant coatings. Coatings are needed to make them bioproof so that the body doesn't reject it. So there are different types of coatings. The RFID tag implants, the glass capsules. They're in borosilicate or soda lime. The other tag implants, for example, the Exante or the Flex DF or the VivoKey, they have a parallel C coating. The magnet implants, they have a coating of titanium nitrate, which is a very thin coating, so that the magnet doesn't lose its power. And yeah, the first magnet I did myself. I used Sugru, and you can order this stuff online. When you take it out of the package, then you can mold it for half an hour, and after 24 hours, it's completely solid, and it happens to be bioproof. Body doesn't reject it. Advantages and hardware limitations. Yeah, all the implants I have, they're all passive devices. So right now it doesn't transmit anything on its own. You need actually an RFID reader, and you need to get close to the skin to power the implant and to be able to read it, which is also a good security feature. People are always worried when you read comments online. People are always worried. Yeah, now you have these implants. Now the government can track you 24/7, but no, that's not possible. Same thing with animals. You actually have to find an animal first, and then read the tag, if they have a tag. Yeah, to read the implant. You can't read any of my implants from a long distance. And also the read range, it depends on the shape and size of the coil inside the tag implant, and also in the RFID reader. RFID, there are different frequencies. For example, the low frequency 125 kilohertz, high 134.2 kilohertz, high frequency 13.56 megahertz, which is what NFC uses. And yeah, each implant has its own frequency. So yeah, if you want to get an implant, then you also need to know which frequency and which protocol you want to use. Yeah, common question. What about airport security? Well, I traveled here by airplane, so the implants, they're too small. They don't get detected by for example, metal detector. So if I scan my arms, my hands, fingertips, nothing happens. And but if it detects metal, then it will beep. But yeah, nothing is detected by metal detector at the airport. Also, full body scanner also doesn't detect anything because it doesn't penetrate the skin. Other common questions, what about laws? Well, each country has its own laws. In Europe, we also have bodily integrity laws. Nobody can force me to get an implant. It's my body, it's my decision, what I do with my body. Yeah, payments. Yeah, as I mentioned, I can't use these implants for payments at a supermarket yet, for example. At my hackerspace, we have our own payment system, and yeah, so there I can use my implant for payments, but not at a supermarket. So I do have some demo videos. I need to switch to, let's see. Yeah, VLC works. No, it's over here. So this is at my home, and that's the front door. And yeah, the door is closed. So if I scan my implant, and then I can unlock the door. Downstairs, there's the office, and same thing. I can unlock the door with an implant. I don't have to worry about forgetting my keys or my access card. My car. So it happened to me before. I was sitting in my car and I received a text message from my girlfriend. I got distracted, so I got out of my car and closed the car door. And then I realized, oh shit, I left the keys inside the car. And I had to call road assistance for them to unlock my car. And now I don't have to worry about this anymore because I can just unlock the door with my implant. The office building at the hackerspace, yeah, same principle, scanning the implant and then unlock the door. So yeah, never let anyone borrow your access cards or your key fobs or your keys because they can be duplicated even to an implant if they want. Never leave them out of sight, like your PIN codes and passwords. Never hand them out to anyone. And already demonstrated this, but yeah, unlocking the laptop. This is an Ikea table. Made this at my hackerspace. It's an Ikea table, and what's nice about the Ikea log table is that it has exactly 19-inch between the table legs, so you can fit 19-inch equipment like network switches or servers. You can fit it between the table legs. And I mounted an Arduino and the NFC module under the table. And there where the sticker is, that's where the reader is. So when I scan my implant, then the light switches off, and when I scan it again, it switches on again. It's also nice for home automation, for domotica purposes. Each implant it has its own UID number, so I can program the Arduino that if it scans this implant, then it will light up blue, or if I scan another implant, then it will have this rainbow pattern. And further in the video, I'm showing how I mounted this. So on the underside of the table, I mounted the electronics, RGB LED strip. I also publish these videos on YouTube. So there you can see the NFC module, and inside the little box there's the Arduino. And yeah, since I'm part of a hackerspace, we believe in open source, so I'm also going to publish the source code. Not that complicated. This is I work as a I work part-time as a system administrator and part-time as a security guard. And when working as security guard, I work at different office buildings. And for example, this office building it has its own parking lot with a road barrier to make sure only employees can gain access to this parking lot. So, and yeah, that's what I use this implant for. It's so I just hold down the window, I stick my arm out the window, and then I scan the implant, and the road barrier opens. And electronic access door at the same office building. Yeah. And here I made a recording of how I used the Proxmark 3 to duplicate my Fair Classic access card to an implant, basically. So I launched the Proxmark 3 client. It's a high frequency ISO 14443A RFID tag. And don't worry, this is not the actual access card for the building where the hackerspace is, but for demo purposes I used another access card. But this is basically how it goes. And yeah, MyFair Classic, it's an old chip, and a couple of years ago at other hacker conferences, there were also talks about this, that MyFair Classic has some security issues, and in my country, in the Netherlands, there's also the public transit card, OV chip card. At first it was based on MyFair Classic, and even though it was already known that it has these security issues, it was still put in use. Making a dump of the MyFair Classic access card, and then converting the dump file to a file that the Proxmark client can use to write to another tag. High frequency MyFair. Loading the file, and then it was written to the tag. And when I read the tag, then it has the same UID number as the original card. And you see here on the lowest line that it supports Chinese magic backdoor commands. And for the low frequency RFID tags, I bought this little device at a conference in China, in Beijing. It's basically an RFID emulator device, low frequency, and it has a keypad, so I just have to enter hexadecimal UID number, run it, and then I can use this low-frequency cloning device or the Proxmark tree to clone from the emulator to an implant and change the UID number, which is what I'm going to do when I get home from the conference for security reasons. So yeah, that was my talk. If there are any questions, we have a couple more minutes, 5 minutes. Yeah, if I need an MRI scan, I haven't had one yet, but the RFID tag implants, they've been tested in an MRI up to 7 Tesla, and nothing happens. And magnet implants, well, I read an article online from other people who have magnet implants that they went in an MRI and they wrote it feels uncomfortable. So it doesn't feel comfortable, but the magnet implants, they don't fly out of the body. So I'm not worried. I don't have access to an MRI, but if you have one, I would be happy to try it. Yeah, I have these prototype implants, so I'm already a test subject. Any other questions? By the way, some people are also worried about cloning. Yeah, they mention, yeah, what if you travel by public transit, by bus or train, and it's very crowded, and then they can scan your implant and clone it. But I also have an answer for that. There's this an RFID high-frequency jammer. It's the size of a credit card, but so it jams the high-frequency RFID signals like NFC uses. So what I can do, yeah, I can wear a glove and then put this this jammer inside the glove, and then you can't read any of the high-frequency RFID tags. It's like a Faraday cage, but it's a jammer. I also have, yeah, I have some time left. Let's see. Well, I'll go outside in a minute and I can give some demonstrations up close because unfortunately the organization of the conference couldn't provide me with a camera to show it up close. So I can do that outside. Thank you.